Dan Bernstein Unfiltered. Unfiltered on 312 Sports.
Welcome to Dan Bernstein Unfiltered on 312 Sports. I'm Dan Bernstein. That is our executive producer, Matt Eberflus, and we're doing something special today. We figured that Wednesdays are going to be our guest day, and we figured we'd start this off with a familiar face and a familiar voice who you know and love. Got most of the band back together as we welcome one of the greats of all time, Terry Boers. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. How are you, man? How you guys
awesome.
doing? How you guys doing?
Okay, actually, all things considered, really, really well. How are you?
Well, I'm hanging in there. I'm old. I'm tired.
Join the
I'm
club.
hanging in there. Yeah.
Well, Terry, you're older. You've been old since I've known you, buddy.
Yeah, you're telling me. It just seems to get worse.
Yeah, I hear you on that. It's great to see you, pal.
It's great to see you guys. I'm looking at you here and I'm thinking that is Matt Eberflus. And Dan, I think I know.
Yeah, I think it just and the fact that Matty was away for so long and people forgot about him, and I knew that this was going to happen. Like, oh yeah, oh that Bernstein, whatever. But Eberflus, that guy.
Eberflus.
Yeah.
Terry never forgot me though. That's the key. Terry never
No,
forgot
I love
me.
him. I love that guy. He did the yeoman's duty for me. So I love both of you, but that guy is just tremendous. He's the man. He is the man.
So, what's making you happy these days? How are you spending your time?
You know, I spend a lot of time doing absolutely nothing. I work things. I do puzzles. I just kill time and read and do other things. I'm not really into anything per se. I don't watch any sports, believe it or not. After how many years? 50, something like that. Don't watch much sports. Last time I watched a game was probably a month ago. And that was more by accident than anything else. And I couldn't find anything if I wanted to find it anyway. No.
That makes it easy.
You don't still have your giant remote from the little guys?
I do. I do.
Oh,
I
you
do everything for the little guys. Yeah, absolutely.
That 12-pound remote control you had for your TV. I woke up with it on my chest one morning.
Yeah, but things are still comfortable. Things are still good. You know, I fighting every possible disease known to mankind. So I would suggest that you guys, where you're at your age, just stop. Don't go any older because it doesn't get any better.
Well, yeah, well, stopping isn't exactly a great idea either.
Oh, no, that's right.
Yeah, when you put it that way, I think I'm going to stick with the growing old part. But
Yeah.
So you say you're reading. What are you reading?
Oh, just about everything. Everything. I still read. I read the sports stuff. Isn't it funny? I don't watch it, but I read it just to see how people are writing, because that's where I started writing it. And I still like me better. I still like me better. I'm not drunk, but I still like me better than any of them. So I keep busy with that and just doing nothing. I work out, go to the gym, and then the rest of the time is spent with doctors.
Yeah. Yeah,
Pretty
Terry,
much.
what and I know people want to know, people will ask too, like, give us a brief recap of where you're at health wise. I'm glad to hear you're working out. That's great. I knew you were doing that. I'm glad to hear that you're still doing that. But where is your health at right now?
It's not terrific. I have a couple different things going on, and including one that I added right when we were coming home this year, and it's really a problem. I went from 300, let's see, I weighed 230 pounds to 265 pounds in about a day.
Oh,
When I got back, I went to the doctor because I felt like I gained a person, and so that was a shock. And it turns out it's the liver disease, and you know, all the stuff we know about to help you with this and help you with that, it doesn't help you with that. Fighting a liver is tough. fighting a liver that's acting up and is goofy, and it's to the day as we're speaking, it's still the same. It's better, but I've taken every pill, every treatment, everything known to mankind, and I'm still struggling with it. It still is part of me that I can't seem to lose it. You start feeling a little bit better, and then all of a sudden it comes up and bites you. So that part of it is okay. I mean, I get it. I completely understand it. It's time consuming. It's awful. And I got to watch what I do when I leave the house. You got to make sure everything's in place so you don't, all of a sudden you're in some strange place and you go, oh my God, wait a minute. I got to run to the bathroom. So that has not been good. And, there's a couple other little things that have troubled me, but I'm hanging in. I'm fighting it with everything I got to fight it with. I don't know how much left I have to fight it with, but I'm fighting.
Are you you're not a candidate for a transplant yet, are you?
No.
Okay.
No. I've been to so many doctors, but no. But it's a little frightening when you go to bed 220 and you wake up 265.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a little frightening, And I was getting to the plane because we were coming back home, and this is in the start of let's see, May, maybe early May, and all of a sudden I didn't feel good. I was just death, and I came here and I've been going to the doctors ever since. Ever since we got back. And just keeping it checked out, trying to keep it kind of cheap. I've taken 8 million different pills and different ideas and different everything else. But come to find out, the liver kind of bounces back by itself.
Okay, good. Well, here's hoping it does.
Yeah, that's what. See, there you go. And so I'm waiting for it to bounce. Give me a little bit of bounce.
Good.
just a slight bounce. It'd be great. It'd be enough for me.
Now, I noticed something you didn't mention, talking about what you're doing. You're doing nothing. I did not hear anything about what's left of harness racing. Is the Meadowlands still running? Is there still something you can plop down in front of a TV and yell at?
No, I don't. I think the Meadowlands still is, but I don't. It's so weird when you get old and tired and bad as I am. You don't feel like betting anymore. It took this time in my life that occurred to me. I don't feel like doing it anymore. We went to Vegas a couple of years ago. She surprised me, bought tickets to Vegas, and we went. And I don't really, there's nothing for me to just the normal stuff I normally do at Vegas. Nothing appeals to me. Gambling doesn't appeal to me. Horses doesn't appeal to me. Huh. So I don't do any of it. I mean, and now is the time when I should be surrounded by 70-year-old men, right?
Yep.
Well, I remember what you told me years ago that you said, maybe this was 25 years ago. You said when you got to this point, the one thing you really wanted to do was take up smoking again.
I didn't do that.
You did, but you said it. I'm not necessarily going to hold you to it, but you said, the first thing I'm going to do when it doesn't matter anymore is I'm going to start smoking again because I miss smoking.
Well, when I think about probably what smoking helped me do, no, I don't. I have no desire. That's okay. So funny that you would remember that. I don't remember. I kind of remember me saying that now.
Terry, I'll always have visions of you out on the Belmont studio, the old bunker, walking out the back door with a big cigar in your mouth.
Oh yeah,
getting out back during breaks and puffing on a cigar. And I think it might have been a Corvette at the time. Does that sound right or no?
Kind of, yeah.
Did you have a Corvette, right? You did. I thought you did.
I did have a Corvette,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always remember all right, where's Terry? We're coming back. All right, well, let's run down the hallway, get him because he's out back getting on his cigar. So, well, Terry, thanks for sharing this stuff about your health. There's everyone is in your corner and supporting you and wants you to live a longer, healthier life, buddy. You provided so much joy to so many people in Chicago through your writing, through radio, through TV appearances, through all the remotes that you guys did. It was just great. An incredible run at the Score. When you look back at it, what are some things that stand out for you? Your time at the Score.
Almost all of it, I mean, because it was so unsuspected that's the direction I would take. I had not thought about doing that or given it certainly not a second thought, because I didn't have a first thought for it. But working with Dan for as long as I did, I know you figure it must have made me crazier. But I thought that we meshed pretty damn well together, which is very difficult to do. And we did, and he's terrific. So I didn't, I thought about it, and I thought, this is a hell of a lot easier than traipsing. I remember some of those road trips with the Bulls and all the other stuff, and the writing the columns and all the other things where you're traipsing all over the country, and you're just beat. Your mind and everything about you is just beat. It's a lot easier sitting in a studio and giving people the what for than it is to actually do it the tough way. But yeah, all of that stuff I don't miss now. Isn't that weird? I mean, all the stuff that didn't help me a bit, all the stuff that was stupid to do. And I say that to people as a warning sign, because, my first battle was with the jaw cancer.
Right.
That goes back to 2016, when my final days with the Score were coming in, when I was about done. And because I was downtown 30 days. Let's see, we used to stay down there a month at a time, because I had a radiation shot every day. I'm so full of radiation, I think I glow. But I mean, this goes way, way back. Yeah. So I fought as hard as I can fight, and I'm going to keep fighting as hard as I can. But no, I miss it all. I miss it all. I miss the people. I miss the whole thing. And then some days I think about, I don't miss anybody. So it's very difficult. It's very nice just to kind of sit around here, and because I don't think people around the neighborhood where we live now know much about me at all. I don't, I talk to them, I see them, I wave at them, and all that normal stuff you would do in the neighborhood. But I think they have no idea about me unless they've asked. So, which is fine. Nobody's come up to me once since we moved here and said, "Hey, man, you so you hosted a radio show." What? Well, first of all, we co-hosted. We didn't host anything, but not one person. So I'm thinking, well, that was certainly not very permanent, was it? Whatever Mark, Dan, and I left on people. But,
there's something I really wanted to ask you as I was thinking about this, because when we started this podcast with the idea of the rules being different, there's no FCC overseeing this. We can really say whatever we want. And I get back to how FCC restrictions forced creativity, specifically upon you, because I've always said that you're one of the great swearers that I'd ever heard. And I said, all anybody has to do is drive while Terry is driving, just sit in the passenger seat for, I don't know, you run to get a gallon of milk with Terry, and you will hear every polysyllabic combination of swear words under the sun. And then the moment the light went on, there was this creativity of you still coming up with things to call people that would conform to FCC regulations, and the forced creativity. And I'll never forget when you discovered that the international financial giant Deutsche Bank could be applied as a substitute for douchebag, and with exactly the same emphasis. And I thought, here, it's weird for me to be in a position where you can say anything you want. And like right now, you could. It's like driving a car. This cockspeg bastard ass fucker. And I always wondered, though, it was probably a blessing to force us to come up with this, particularly you, to come up with all kinds of new things and ways to say things.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed sitting around thinking about things to say to people.
Oh, I know you
I
did.
did. I did. I absolutely did. And, after a while, you think I'm going to run out of things to say to people. What am I going to tell them when they call up and tell me I'm an idiot or whatever? Because we had all kinds of phone calls. But basically, they were calling Dan to tell him he was an idiot. But
Well, but I mean, what was it? I think what did you refer to Dan McGrath as a walking rectum or something like that? I'm just trying to. I can put a list together of all these things and everything that you said, and where my favorite line when I was describing and trying to explain to some of my new bosses about the Boers and Bernstein show, and I said, listen, by modern standards, any individual show between 1999 and 2017, certainly between 99 and 2010, I said anything there's a scandal. Any individual show, we're all fired. Everybody in touch with it, everybody's fired. So understand that. And I gave an example. And I said, so we're having so much fun with Pope Bob, right? So here's Bob from the South Side, Bob from Days of Pope. Hey, Bob, God. Hey, God, Bob. And then I said, well, wait a second. We go back to Pope John Paul II, who, as he was withering, do you remember what you called it? Because it was the Pope would come out and they'd bring him out in the chair, and he'd be all sort of leaned over and like curling into a question mark, and you kept calling him Uncle Tilty. Because it always looked like his head was going to hit the microphone. And then at the peak of everything we were dealing with the church and the sexual molestation scandal, and the day that the Pope actually finally, because remember, first they said you get one. First, they're like, you can't get too mad. Well, you get one, and then we'll get mad at you. And then finally, he said, no, that's bad too, because the reaction to that was bad. Like you can't, you don't get one molestation. You get no molestations. And you said, and we had it on in the studio, and out of nowhere, we had it on the TV, and they're showing St. Peter's, and we were talking about the Bears or something, and you went, up, wait. Here comes Uncle Tilty to tell everyone, and he is about to tell everyone, Nolo Cornholo.
You mean he didn't?
Well, he did. He gave what is now known as Uncle Tilty's great Nolo Cornholo address. And I can't, when I say that, he said that on the radio live, I'm like, yes. And it was the kind of thing we'd expect him to say.
Yeah. Yeah, Terry, how did you just said that you would think about things to say to people. Would you really sit down and think, what are things to say? Because I always thought it was just such a natural thing for you that it was just a gift.
Yeah, actually, I didn't much think about it. I didn't.
It was such a great gift. The things you'd say, we're at the airport and there's Professor Flaky, and it's where does that come from?
That man made a rash decision.
Yes. I mean, it's brilliant, and it goes back to really show how great of a writer you are, in the fact that that stuff was just there for you. That's just how your brain worked.
It is. I wasn't doing anything special. That's just me. That really, which really is for better or worse. I mean, that should be added all the time, because other people who don't know me wonder what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with that bastard?
Right.
Yeah.
I said, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
But I was very, very fortunate in the score that Dan and I were hooked up together, because he's terrific. You know that.
Yeah.
And then when you got there, oh my God, it was just great. I mean,
and Jason Goff. I think
yes,
between Goff. Whatever the mix was with Tannehill, with all his magic, and with Jason Goff there, when we were just clobbering each other and nothing was off limits.
No, and it was, and it's interesting because there are times that the stars do align and things happen for a purpose, despite what Dan might think. And I know that I had a sales executive when I worked at ADP. He used to say, you have to give luck a place to land.
I like that.
And you guys gave luck a place to land. So, you had great people you worked with. I was very lucky to work with Jason for as long as I did, and then to work with Tannehill. We started off with Scott Scher running the board for the show. But so that was just the five of us, the five of us having that show together. But it all came from you guys allowing us to do what our personalities allowed us to do. There are other hosts, and I've said this for years about you guys, that there are hosts that wouldn't allow producers to be personalities on the show. And from day one,
no. If you're good, I'll give you airtime.
There's a lot of them, and it's not just that guy.
I'll give you airtime.
It's not just that guy, and he had his own mental illnesses to deal with. But it's just like there's the first day you guys said, "Hey, there's a microphone in front of you for a reason. Use it." That was day one as your EP. And the same thing for Jason, the same thing for Tannehill, and Scott Scher didn't use the microphone. He spoke through his sound, his audio. And Tannehill started that way as well too, but then he found his voice and started using his voice. Jason obviously used his voice from day one, but it was because of you guys. You guys gave luck a place to land and allowed your producers around you and even interns to influence the show with sound. And that is a credit to both of you.
Well, I thought the show belonged to all of us. I mean, you guys worked as hard as we did on it. So, I mean, I had no...
I wouldn't say we worked hard, but we were there.
No, you guys put together shows. And, I mean, when I remember you calling up and said, well, what do we do now with guests? And I said, I don't know. I mean, we've had everybody under the sun on, and it doesn't, but I know how difficult your job was. And I tried to make it easier. I didn't, but I tried, and I know that as a team, because what we did was a team that had nothing to do with one guy or the other guy or two guys. It was all of us who put that together and made it work. And it wasn't because, I mean, nobody's ego got in the way of that. Nobody's ego that I knew got in the way of any of that. So I was always very proud of the fact that, we worked so long together and stuck together that because producers and all that other stuff and alleged stars or whatever the hell you call us, but not really, but just that kind of thing. I don't know if it's a common thing, but with this show, it was common. It was very, very common that the guys that worked behind were just as important to me as the guys who worked in front. Yep. And I love you to this very day because of how hard you worked. And I know how hard you worked. So I don't, those were the greatest days of my life. Us doing that show together. And it completely unexpected that I was doing any show. We had to speak English. So I
we're going to speak Swedish?
Yeah.
Gibberish.
This is Dan Bernstein Unfiltered on 312 Sports. Terry Boers is our guest. So, Terry, I have an idea for you that may just keep you young, may solve all your problems. You are 75 years old. And going to be with 74, which makes you exactly the same age as another person who got a 24-year-old girlfriend. And I think, I look, if Bill Belichick can do it, and you could also put a football team together that goes out and absolutely gets their dicks kicked in.
Right.
I think.
Oh yeah.
You could certainly do that too. So that's next. You need a beauty pageant contestant 24-year-old girlfriend.
I'll tell my wife. Yeah, she's
tell Peach.
She'll be glad to hear this.
See what Peach has to say
Peach
about
come
that.
down and see if she'll
I'll
approve
tell
it.
Peach. Yeah. You got her replacement already scanned.
Well, it's doing a lot for Big Bill. Yeah.
Wow. But no, I felt like I just the fact that I had to quit before I wanted to made me just And I still feel that way. And it wasn't because of anything that he and I did. It's because stuff all of us did. Not one guy. That wasn't a one guy or two guy production. That was everybody pitching in and holding things together when we were struggling, whatever. But I mean, that's what made me the proudest. It had nothing to do with my stupidity or his stupidity, because that was legendary. So I don't mind that at all. But just the fact that we bonded so well was important to me. And I know it's not that common. It's just not that common in radio anymore. I found that out over the years, that most of them behind the scenes just hate one another. So I thought, well, I'm pretty good there, because I certainly love the people I work with, and was blessed to work with the people I worked with.
Well, I think you'd be gratified to know, Terry, that from the number of people, I'm just scrolling through my phone right now. You mentioned Scott Scher. Scott Scher reached out, and among all these names, of course, Jason Goff and Chris Tannehill, and everybody mentions you as well, and always is saying, hope you're doing well, and refers to those fond memories. Man, there were some here. I saw this cross. Do you remember Patanders? Do you remember your guy Patanders?
Pretenders.
You got a great note from Pat Anders, who was in promotions at the Score and was always on our remotes with us. And it turns out Pat Anders married my son's third grade teacher. Like these things just come out of nowhere. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was unbelievable. I'm just looking through all of these names, and I can't get to them all. But the outpouring of people just saying, "Hey, this is great, cool new podcast. When are you having Terry on? How is Terry doing?" Everybody just kind of wants to know.
Ask about Terry.
And a lot of it too is you made a foray into social media. You were on Twitter for a bit, and I will tell you, that was the best damn decision you ever made to get your ass right off, because you really that was in your wisdom. In your wisdom, I should have followed you. I should have, because it was a huge mistake for me to be on there as long as I was, and it was bad for my brain. I talked about it on the first episode that I really learned that Twitter was horrible for me. I'm not wired for it. It was wired to get the worst out of me, and somehow you realized that, and you just said, "Fuck it. I don't need this in my life."
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's the way I felt about it too. We were out there every day. If you wanted to criticize us, I didn't back down from it. We were there. It isn't like we were hiding
real
somewhere.
Life. In real life. That's true. Every Friday for over a decade, we were somewhere near you. Yep, that's true. That's true.
I had some of the great times at those places too. I mean,
I know you did.
Who needs two tavern tours?
I know you did. Miska, my thing doesn't work. Miska, fix my thing. My ENT, my EMT.
Well, that's why when people say to me that you did a great job, I said no. I said everybody did, because if you think one person can do this, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. You need, first of all, you don't want to work by yourself. I never had that desire for a second. And second of all, I wanted to work with these guys around me. I wanted to work with Matt. And I mean, those are the things that stick out with me, that I got my kind of way about, that I had people around me that I know I could trust, and which can't always be said for this business. You can't always say, "Oh, yeah, I completely trust him." I learned sort of over the years, maybe you shouldn't, but that's, to me, is what made it so good. Is that just that I really like the people around me on a daily basis, and I don't know how you function if you're going to do what we did every day of the week, except weekends when I was sleeping, but well, maybe Thursday occasionally too, but
during Who You Crappin'.
Right? Yeah, I hope during Who You Crappin'. Be a great time. Take a quick nap.
Like I wish now, looking back, Terry, I wish I would have kept track of the number of segments that you just checked out on, because you were just done with them. And who you crapping at the end, or the number of times that I could just recall the number of times that you would like look at Dan and me, and you'd look at us and just go, God, you're both idiots. You're just idiots. And then you were done. You're like, what the hell am I doing here?
I don't think I'm wrong, but
you're not wrong at all. Not at all. Hey, Terry, so
it was my pleasure. It's nice it's great to see you guys. It's my pleasure. It has been since we met, and it remains my pleasure. So, I don't. This isn't part of me said, "Oh yeah, you were great." No, we were. It's got nothing to do with me. We, as a team, as somebody who cared, and everybody there who did care, because I remember Maddie they going into when we talked to you today, and I said, I don't know.
I don't know. But Dan Bernstein Unfiltered on 312 Sports is brought to you by Chicago Window Guys. Russ Armstrong, the owner, comes to your home to give you the estimate. Windows made locally here in Chicago. He uses no subcontracted labor. That means his crew is installing your windows. They all work for Russ. He knows everybody who's in and around your house. The same people who installed my windows could install yours or will install yours. He matches any price, too. So don't fall for these buy one, get one free sales gimmicks. Russ is going to give you the best product, best price guaranteed. Call him, 847-302-9171. Check out the 5-star reviews at ChicagoWindowGuys.com. We are talking with Terry Boers, and I know there was a time where you said you're watching no sports and you swore off the Bears. But look, we're here again. We're here again. I know you've been reading and following enough. This is the latest iteration of what the Bears do. Is they found the new offensive wonder, and this 37-year-old is being trusted to come in and make Bears games not look like Bears games. I always try to say that. That's all we ask for, is make Bears games look like regular football. What is the extent of your belief that this time it'll finally happen?
Well, you could have, I think, just about anybody who ever lived, rather than this last clown they had. That guy. I mean, he's down here, and he's got another guy on the field down there when they threw that Hail Mary and beat him. Yep. He's got another guy on the field. What are you doing? Are you the coach? What are you doing? And this guy, he knows what he's doing offensively. That seems to be a given around the NFL. How he handles the Bears, I don't know. Caleb Williams, how he handles them, I don't know. But I know that the rest of it certainly gets a better answer than what I saw for a couple of years ahead of that. Oh, my God. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that guy.
I tried to tell people from the first press conference. I said the moment he opened his mouth and started yammering about the hits principle, I'm getting Tim Beckman vibes, and like that. He was unqualified to be an NFL head coach.
Absolutely, no question. He was unqualified to coach a little league team. I wouldn't want him there. So, I mean, I've never seen anything like that guy. And you are supposedly smarter than that, and you're not. I mean, you mean to tell me in the whole wide world that's the clown you found to coach your team? That's it? That's the best you could do is that guy?
Yeah, but Terry, what's even worse is they kept him one extra year. I mean, when he should have been fired, he still gets another chance. Now, again, Dan reconciles that to the fact that it allowed them to get to Ben Johnson, which is great.
We think.
But still, but still, he wasn't even fired when he should have been.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, the day that safety running down there to yell at some Washington player in that play, you're fired.
Yeah.
You are not running anything. You don't know what's going on. I don't know if you have any idea what you're doing at all. So the Bears about the only thing, just because of the timing of it, is that this is how much I like to torture myself. More so them than anybody left.
And that's the one you swore off. That is that is the one team that you couldn't wait to get away from.
After all the days we spent sitting around them, the training camp.
But it's the easiest to consume though, Terry. I mean, it's the easiest sport to consume. I mean, you don't have to do it year round. You can do it for 17 weeks, and it's just the easiest one to take in.
Yeah.
It's 1 day a week. You don't have to worry about it. Now, it's very special for us to have you as the first guest on Dan Bernstein Unfiltered.
My pleasure.
Dan mentions Twitter, and here we are now. It's September. A lot happens to get us to this point. When you heard that this show was happening, what were your thoughts? What was going through your brain? And you thought about Dan, and then you and I chatted. Like, what was going on in your head when you heard about all this happening with the podcast?
To be honest with you, I was just very pleased. I mean, I know Dan can do it, and I know you can do it, and I thought together, terrific. I always kind of felt like, you kind of keep forgetting somebody that's here that's really good at what they do, and I don't know why you keep doing that, but now there you are, there you two are. So I mean that's perfect for me. Now you're not fighting, are you?
No, not yet. No.
Like you used to in the show.
We're not fighting, and I think Terry, we look at I can look back at a lot of the tension that was there, and a lot of it was for the fun and for the stick of the show, and it was all good. There are times I wanted to punch him in the face. Yeah, absolutely. I think Dan would admit that he deserved at times to be probably punched in the face. But
it was a complete penis.
Yeah. So that happens. But there's also, I played a part in this, and we've talked about it. My ego and my attitude played a part in how our show tension played out as well. But I've always had the utmost respect for Dan. I've always thought he was the best talk show host in the city, and to have this opportunity to come together and do it after 8 years out of the business, I couldn't be happier to be here today. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad
I mean, are we going to disagree and fight? We will, but no, this is great. I mean, this feels like home. It feels like where I'm supposed to be.
I still miss it. I mean, there's days that are miserable for you, but the overall satisfaction of it, of being able to say what you think, and whether we're crashed in some trailer in Bourbonnais, we're still doing the show, I guess. And so I cherished about every bit of it, so from the beginning to the end, and I still do. And you guys are never to be forgotten, and you won't be, neither one of you. So, I mean, and others who has things to do with that show, same thing. Tannehill is terrific. So, I mean, to me, I just kind of felt like luckier than anything else. It wasn't, oh my God, yeah, you're the great. No. It was a fact that we found something that's very difficult to find in radio. And that's just somebody whose ego doesn't just swamp around you every day that you're there, and I never had that problem. And if I did, I ignored it. So I didn't, it didn't bother me. But I felt we were very lucky, and as much as I liked writing, there's nothing like doing a radio show where you contact the people that you write for or talk to, whatever. They're there. They're not make believe anymore. So they're there, and that you can talk to them. And to me, a lot of that was great. I mean, we heard from voices, Dan and I, guys that had been calling since probably the first week of the show, and it took forever to get to them, absolutely get to know them a little bit and get to see them when we were at places, and that meant a lot. I mean, I felt like I guess they do kind of like us. Well, me anyway, but they kind of like us. So to me, that was important, and it was important to see them because they created the show. If they didn't like the show, we'd have been long gone. So I felt like, okay, I did okay. I think the newspaper business was kind of at an end. I felt like I wanted to do a little something else or try something else. And so I did the sports reporters, and my old bud Ben Bentley, and I
Don't forget Sports Fire remains on hiatus.
yes,
It was not canceled. Technically,
It's on
Sports
pause.
Fire, it is ready to go
Yes.
at a moment's notice.
We're gonna put that on hold.
Put my hold. Say hello, Randy Johnson. Say hello to Bill Kuharich. Put your hands on the radio.
No, you guys. I was the fortunate one. I don't look at this and I say, yeah, all those guys. No, I was the fortunate one because the more you're around that business and you look at other people, and we were all over the country, Dan and I, when we were from every Super Bowl to anything else there was that was interesting. You find out that how lucky we were, and I still feel that way today. And I still don't know if I can host a radio thing. I did. We did it for a long time, but that was a turning point and a point that I really enjoyed. I like to talk to the people that I wrote for all these years. They're just faceless and mindless. Where were you at? I know you're out there. I know it was read, and just to have a chance to talk to them meant a lot to me.
Terry Boers is our guest on Dan Bernstein Unfiltered, that is brought to you by the Chicago Window Guys. Windows made locally here in Chicago. Call 847-302-9171. Check out his 5-star reviews at chicagowindowguys.com. Terry, I also want to ask you about, you mentioned you read, obviously, reading news headlines every day as well as sports headlines. How do you feel about this world we're living in right now? I mean, with everything you've experienced, going back to your youth, going back to the days in which you were an anti-war protester during Vietnam, and everything, the life that you've lived now, being a grandfather many times over. When you read the headlines of the things that matter a lot more than sports, how do you feel?
That's a tough question. Some days good, some days I look at it and think, what have you been waiting for? I mean, that's you're taking it now. I wonder about some of it, but generally pretty good. I mean, I don't question anybody's business or what they do or how they stuck with it, because the newspaper business is not easy these days. I wouldn't think.
No.
So it meant a lot background to me to have that job, because I don't think without that job that this job would have ever been available. So it meant a lot, and I still read them. I still take a look.
I mean in general, not just about the newspaper business, but what is just the state of the world. I mean, especially thinking about your grandkids and thinking about the kind of world in which they are going to grow up. I know a lot of us, as we age, it's natural to fear change and to say, well, what's this entire planet going to be like in 20, 30, 40 years when none of us are here, but our children and our grandchildren are. I find myself thinking about that more as I've gotten older, and I don't know. Sometimes I get scared, and sometimes I worry, and other times I figure that my parents, my grandparents were in the same position, and I'm still here.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really worry about that too much. I think there's always going to be a certain part of people that I've met over the years that you never want to see again, and hopefully you'll never have to. But there's another part of it that couldn't be nicer to you. They couldn't be better. So I kind of cut the thing down the middle, and I say, you know what? I don't care what the other side thinks. I don't care anymore. If you thought I'm an idiot, I want you to absolutely think I'm an idiot. That's fine. If you don't think I'm an idiot, then we're good too. So it doesn't. But I don't. I never looked at it and said, well, I don't know if I'm coming across right on that. I always wrote what I felt. and I never faked a column. Now, a few that I had some questions. There was a few questions going around about what are you talking about, but I do worry about that though, because I just don't. I guess it's the whole state of the world as we speak that scares me a little bit. And those who you try to get along with, and I don't know how hard you really try when Donald Trump is trying to get you, but how much can I trust that my grandkids and their kid, whatever, are going to be okay in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years from now? I can't. I don't know. I think so. I think it's okay. I think there's enough people left in the world that are smart enough to figure this out, that there's no friendly wars anywhere. And to fight, to fight somebody that's in your backyard makes no sense to me. And practically lives with you makes no sense to me. But we still do it, don't we? Not us, but others. I think about that once in a while, but then I have this other thought, and I don't want to turn their growing into adults and parents and everything else into something weird. I don't want them to feel like we have no hope. This thing is a mess. Yeah. This thing is a mess, but I've never seen a mess yet that with the right people you can clear up, and at least start to.
I'm happy to hear you say that. The appealing to the better angels of our nature is still something we can do.
Yeah, I think our nature is still decent. I really do. I don't think you do, because you get that habit of saying, "No, well, everybody or that entire country or this that." I don't believe that to be true.
No, that makes me feel good to hear you say that. It really does. I think it's easy to slip into cynicism. It's easy to slip into world weariness and fatalism. But to hear you remain that idealistic is powerful, and it's empowering to me to hear.
Well, I appreciate that, but that's the way I feel. I don't. A lot of it bothers me. I can't quite figure out people. And then after a while, like 10 years ago, I gave up trying, because you're never going to figure them out. You could sit here from now till, 20 years from now, and you're never going to figure them out. So I just kind of look at it that way and cross those off if I can, and get with the good people that are still left. And there are plenty of good people still left everywhere. There's plenty that'll stop, that'll keep us and keep everybody going. I think I don't think there's anybody who wants to destroy one another. I hope not. I know there are, and they will again. But I as far as we're concerned, and my grandkids and everybody else, I think we're okay. I think we're okay for a while yet. People have this sort of understanding now that they didn't have years ago. They think this is, we could just have a little fight and it will. Not anymore. You can't, because the minute you start a fight, everybody starts talking about, we're going to nuke you. We're going to do something else to you. We're going to fix you for good. We'll make sure you never say another word. That kind of thinking scares me more than anything else when I think of people that, when you got a lot of family out there, and I have a lot of family out there that making their way through it. I don't want them to have to make their way through some pile of crap to get to a decent life, and they haven't. But I think it's available to you. You may have to do more than you thought you did have to do, but I still think that you can do it. I believe that we have not reached that point yet, within our own shores anyway, at least. And I know we hate one another. That seems to be the case. That goes without saying. We hate one another for some reason, but I can't speak for those who are half a continent away. I try to stay out of it. I wish they'd stay out of our stuff, but I still have faith that everybody that we have that's the Boers, that they'll be okay. They will still be okay in the years ahead. I really believe that.
Good.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we can do, Terry, everybody, is to take that criticism that we put outward and turn that inward and start working on ourselves. And I think that's a really good first step in making this world, this country, where we live, a better place. Is work on yourself, figure out what your deficiencies are, and work on yourself in that journey and that path. And Terry, and on that note, when you look back on things you've learned, whether it's through experience or through just getting older, because I think we all can reflect on things we've learned and how things were different when our perspectives were different as we were younger. What's one thing that you've learned now that you wish you'd learned sooner in life, a lot younger in life?
Oh boy, I probably not to spend so much money on cars, but
I did not think it was going to be that. Okay. Yeah. Well, he wasn't going that route, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody goes that route. You look, you go, I kind of like that one. No, wait a minute, I kind of like that one, and then a year later, I kind of like that one. So I sort of lived it. I did it, and I lived it, and I lived like an idiot. And I think that we still have plenty of those left. I mean, if I want a drag race, I know I'm pretty sure. Not a drag queen race. I think you could
nothing
probably
wrong with
find
that
a
either.
place. Yeah.
Fine. I'm there.
Anyway, but yeah, that's the way I look at it. I don't think that, I don't think everybody's inherently bad, nor do I think everybody's inherently good. I think it's a lesson of life that somehow you have to convince yourself and others around you, just by perhaps just your actions, not so much your words, but just to show them that hopeless is a state that you go, well, okay, who's going to get bombed today, or where are they going to drop a bomb today, wait a minute, they're not going to drop a bomb there, are you? That's the kind of thing that makes you crazy and makes you paranoid, and that's the kind of thing I wish we would stop. As a country, as a world, not just country, because we've managed to control a little bit of that. But I think that once you get past that, you'd be better off, and you'd be better off than threatening people or knowing that threat was always there. But I think as opposed to when I was growing up, I think people are still a lot the same. I really do. I do, and I mean, everybody I knew. Well, first of all, they had to be goofy, so they pretty much were goofy. So I look at it and I say, well, that couldn't be a coincidence that I attract the goofy guy. That's probably not just a mistake. So I look at it and I say, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to listen to that guy. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes listening to what his problems are now that he runs a country, that he's a piece of crap and a liar. I'm not. I don't worry about that. There are others who worry about that now, and we given the fact of how many people just seem to hate one another, that we've done okay. That we haven't started a war. We haven't. I don't know how many. I'd have to sit down and think about. Are there others that we wanted to start that we didn't? But I mean, I think lately we've been pretty calm, and that's what the people in this country I would hope want is not to fight with everybody, not to walk around saying I'm America, I'm superior. Don't don't do that, or if you're from anywhere else, because you're not superior. So, and I don't know that Americans, in many ways, yeah, sure, I agree, they're pretty good, but in some other ways, not very good when you think about it. So, most of those in office, though, but unfortunately. But I don't, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I just know that I've been around a while now. I managed to live through Vietnam while I was in school. And you guys mentioned it before, and that, it scared the crap out of me that I was going to have to give up. I knew we were going to have a kid, that I was going to have to give up the school and go and fight. And if you remember you don't remember the protest and what it was like back then, that you know, you were not with some of the citizenry, you were okay. With other part of the citizenry, you were a coward. You were this, you were that. To me, I was just being logical. I'm going to go fight in Vietnam. Really? You think that's what we needed to do, was go fight in Vietnam? I didn't feel like it, and that's the one war that I spoke out against, and not always particularly favorably with a lot of people. But you're a coward. That's why you just want to stay home and do nothing. No, it's got nothing to do with staying home and doing nothing. It's called building a life where I'm from. It's not a matter of, oh, well, so you really don't. You're really not for bombing Vietnam? I said, well, it depends. If I could get them all in one place, I probably would. But I don't. I sort of put that behind me. I don't unless it's something that, you walk in and wherever you're at, and they want to start talking about it, or you see people talking about it, you might jump in and say something. But other than that, I keep my big mouth shut about that kind of stuff, because I don't pretend to be a war expert or a government expert or anything like that. But I think I know enough to know what's best for this country, and what's best for this country isn't to keep nosing in enough to get yourself in another war.
And Terry, there's something I think it's really important that I mean, we've talked a lot in this hour about legacy, about what things have meant. And I know you've heard this over and over and over again, how between the roast that was done, between our 1500th show, between your retirement, you've done sort of the Huckleberry Finn attend your own funeral many times already. You've been lucky to hear a lot of people say all of these glorious things about you and what your legacy is. And it's interesting when you say that you can walk around your neighborhood and people go, hey, you're that guy that hosted that radio show for 17 years. What I think, and especially early in this program, what I've learned to understand, and what has been really eye-opening to me, and the people that have reached out personally, are the number of people who are still connected to you, to Boers and Bernstein, to Matt, to the legacy of that show. There's something there. And in large part, it's not only the silliness. It is the silliness. It's the stupidity. It's the silliness. It's all of that. But it's also the way that we handled the serious stuff. It's the way that we did have a moral compass. It's the way that we did understand that whether it was the what the Catholic Church was doing, what happened at Penn State, or anything else that had to be taken seriously, everybody knew, even as we joked, that even as we lampooned and satirized, that people knew where our hearts and minds were and on what side of any good fight we were. And I get that more now than I ever have. And it has been a watchword of the foundation of this program, of Dan Bernstein Unfiltered, to carry that through line. And not necessarily aping what we used to do, but just understanding the essence of it has to be there. That authenticity, that kind of trust, that kind of self-awareness, which I find I'm working on, is increasing with every day that goes by. Believe me, no, it is. It's hard. It is hard work. But
it is hard work. Yeah.
But this, I want you to know that your legacy is alive and well here. That your name might not be on it, but your DNA is inextricably linked. I want you to think, just as you look, and we always talk about your sons all having Boers face and your grandkids all being part of that. I want you to, and I want to say to you explicitly how significant your influence is every time these lights go on in this studio. And as long as this show exists, it should give you, and as long as I'm doing this professionally in this market and elsewhere, that should give you, and in everybody who has been able to enjoy and appreciate everything you've done, the stands that you've taken, even the dumbest thoughts out of your mouth that have meant something to people, have that your legacy is alive. It gives you some kind of whatever, however we define immortality. There is some of it that is here. I want you to know that.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know that you see it every day, but I hope here and there that somebody was listening a little bit. Not always, because most of the time I was out in left field somewhere anyway, chasing a fly ball I was never going to catch. But I understand well enough to know that there are far more important things than doing a sports radio show. And we ran into them over the years, whether it was 9/11 and the one day that I couldn't work that day when I just could not work. I begged off and left you in more than capable hands. You didn't need my dumb ass anyway. But I found myself being more human and more of everything than I ever thought I was because of this radio. So it isn't like, oh boy, the radio did. The radio did as much for me as the little bit I did for the radio, and much more. But I learned a lot of lessons. I learned a lot about myself, and certainly more about people. Some of your favorite people, Dan.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
You love to hear from them.
Yeah, but Terry, I will say though that the common thread that went through everything that was good during those years at the Score and during the years of Boers and Bernstein, the common thread was you. And that was, when the lights went on for the show to start, the good times, the culture that was built, that was good in the hallways, the camaraderie between different departments, you were the common thread of all of that. You really were. So I know you can say that you're just an idiot and you don't know, what little part,
pretty much
what little part you contributed to the radio, the station. But Terry, you were it. I mean, you were the heart and soul of everything that we did that was good at the Score.
Should have told Mitch that he paid me more.
Stravinsky? What do you mean, Mitch? Who? Mitch Stravinsky?
I know. I really never thought it that way. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Well, of course you wouldn't think that way because that's who you are. Of course you're not going to think that way. I mean, you didn't have an ego. You've never had an ego. Terry, you looked at a first day executive producer as an equal to you on a show when you were the name on the show. So yeah, of course you wouldn't think that way, but that's exactly who you are, and that's why it happened that way, because of your character and your core beliefs as a person.
Well, there were certain things I did over the years that I would always be mad at myself over, probably if I sat down and wrote them down. And there are certain things that I'd be very happy about. And what you just said makes me very happy. That absolutely makes me very, very happy. So I don't know what effect I had, if any. I know I like to sit down and talk to people I worked with, and Dan and I got to be friends when people said, because I remember when Dan took over, everybody's going, "Oh, you're going to have a tough time with him." And I said, "Why am I going to have a tough time with him?" "Oh, you know Dan, don't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, kind of. Why? We were friends." I said, "I don't think there'll be a tough," and I don't think we did have a tough time. No. I don't think we did at all. So
you did. And what was great about it is that you couldn't find two guys that were more different and very different upbringings and very, very different perspectives in life. Yet, the common bonds were the core values.
Well, I think we found the same things funny.
The truth, yeah,
the two most important things. We found the same kinds of things funny, and I think we hated a lot of the same people.
I do too. Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
That sums it up perfectly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that somehow, on both ends of that we did, and you would think that would be impossible. You would not dislike the very same guys. You would not like different guys. None of this is true. That we made up our own minds about stuff, and we did the show a long time. But I never, and people, because even when it was off the air, people would say things about Dan. I said, first of all, you don't know Dan. You don't know him. You don't understand him. That's fine. I said, but he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And whatever he says, and when he's right, he's right. That period, paragraph. He's not giving you some stupid opinion just because he can say it. He's giving you. He has an opinion on something because he knows it. And Matt, I mean, without you, you are really a special guy. So I don't look at it as my luck. Or as my good fortune is to know you guys. That's where I feel. It isn't like, oh my God, what if this happened? What if that happened? No, my fortune in life is to work with as many good people as I did at a job that I wasn't familiar with, and it took me a while to get used to and get to know myself a little bit better. But I mean, with guys like you around, it always made it easier. It always made it easier for me to do, and whatever. You probably had time, and I know Dan and I used to argue about some stuff, but which is fine.
Oh yeah, of course.
Absolutely. But I don't, and Dan and Maddie was just mad. Maddie is just a piece of work. But I think there's a certain line you draw, and you know when to do it. And you guys made it easy for me to draw that line. And I never, I look back at the days at the Score with nothing but pride and kind of proud of what we did. I mean, kind of proud of what we did, because nobody had done that in Chicago before that I can think of that on a daily basis. And I was flattered that they even called me, that he even said, they even thought of me, so let alone put me on the show. But it was important to me that I got to know everybody, and I did get to know everybody. And, I had the time of my life. It's not, there's no two ways about it. Writing is wonderful. You get to go places. You're across the country. You're here, you're there, you're writing, you're doing that. But we did the same thing as the radio show. If it was worth doing, we were at it. Dan and I, we were everywhere, in every Super Bowl. You know how much I love seeing you two guys. And Maddie, you're all those years of you two fighting, to see you together does me a lot of good.
Well, I just want to say thank you for doing this, really, and thanks for taking the time. I know you say that you're doing nothing, but I know you're not doing absolutely nothing. So thank you for doing this, and I mean what I say. When every day that we're doing this show, every day the lights go on in here, there's a lot of you in it, and always will be in anything that I'm doing professionally, and I'm proud to say that. I really am. It's been your influence has been foundational for me, coming at a time when it did. Starting around your first, and I was 25 years old, and I'm 56 now, and that is a long, 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 long time. I'm older than you were when you started, because I believe when we started, you were only 49. Like, I'm almost 10 years older now than you were when we started together. So. 29. All I can say is I wish you nothing but the best of health and good luck with everything that you're doing, to you and to Peach, our love, and a big smooch to Peach.
Yeah, I love Peach. Remember, I didn't want you to get a 24-year-old girlfund. That was Dan.
They're not mutually exclusive. They're not. I can love Peach and still.
I know you can,
but
still,
he and Bill Belichick can go put on their hoodies,
Terry,
and hang out together and coach bad football.
Don't confuse that. That's him. That's all him.
And anytime you got an open invite. If you wake up with a sports thought, or you wake up with
it'll be a first time.
If somebody dies and you just want to piss all over their grave, this is the place for you to come.
Anytime you want me, it's great. It's wonderful to see both of you guys. I love you, and you mean the world to me. So thank you very much for having
Terry.
me, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Love
Thanks,
you
buddy.
too.
Love you, pal.
Love you guys.
That's Terry Boers, and this has been Dan Bernstein Unfiltered on 312 Sports.
Dan Bernstein Unfiltered. Unfiltered on 312 Sports.